Good morning, second graders, and welcome back to online learning. I hope you guys had an awesome spring break and are ready to get back to it. We're starting off today with lesson 7, where we're going to be learning how to identify adverbs, and then at the end we're going to do a read aloud about the War of 1812. Let's get started. In second grade so far, we've learned 3 different parts of speech. Can you tell me what parts of speech we've learned already? The parts of speech we've learned are nouns, verbs, and adjectives. Tell me, what is a noun? Right, a person, place, or thing. And then what is a verb? An action or something that you do. We learned that last one, adjectives, are used to describe nouns. So adjectives are describing words that describe a noun. Today, we're going to learn the words that describe verbs. Those are called adverbs. So an adverb, like I said, describes a verb. They tell how something happened. So one thing I always do when I'm looking for an adverb is I ask myself the question, how? Let's look at this example. Jim ran quickly. What's my verb in this sentence? What is the action? Ran. So to find the adverb, we want to ask, how did Jim run? What word is the adverb? Quickly. Jim ran quickly. Quickly is your adverb. Let's keep practicing hunting for adverbs in these next few examples. This sentence says, Dad drove slowly. So think about, we always want to find the verb first. Dad drove slowly. What is your verb? Drove. That's the action in our sentence. So now we want to ask ourselves, how did Dad drive? Slowly. So slowly is going to be our adverb. Let's try another. Snow melts fast. What is the verb? Right, the verb is melts. So now we ask, how does the snow melt? Fast. Fast is your adverb. Let's try another. Susan danced lightly. What is your verb in this sentence? Danced. How did Susan dance? Lightly. Lightly is your adverb. Daisies bloom brightly. What is your verb? Bloom. How do daisies bloom? Brightly. Brightly is your adverb. Matt slept well. What is your verb? Slept. How did Matt sleep? Well. Well is your adverb. Chris whispered softly. What is your verb? Whispered. How did Chris whisper? Softly. Softly is your adverb. Kayla shouted loudly. What is your verb? Shouted. How did Kayla shout? Loudly. Loudly is your adverb. Good job finding the adverbs. Now you get to try it yourself on page 2 in your packet. On page 2, it's going to tell you to read each sentence, and you're going to put a wiggly line under the verb. So again, find the verb first, put that wiggly line that we've practiced. Then you're going to put a triangle around the adverb. Then you're going to draw an arrow from the adverb to the verb that it's describing. I'll do the first one with you to give you an example. So first, we're going to find the verb. This sentence says, Jane swims fast. What's my verb? Swims. So you're going to put a wiggly line. I hope yours looks way better than mine since you're using a pencil. And then you're going to find the adverb. How does Jane swim? Fast. So we're going to put a triangle around fast. Last step is we need to put an arrow from the adverb to the verb. So we're going to draw an arrow going from the triangle, the adverb, to the verb that we wiggle underlined. And that's all you've got to do. Go ahead and complete number 2 through 10 on your own. Press pause on the video so that you can keep working, and then come on back and I'll explain the next page. Nice work on page 2. Make sure that when you finish that, you send that to your teacher. That is an assignment that is due. So you can send your teacher a picture of that over the phone, or you can email it to them, whatever is easiest for you. But make sure that you send page 2 that you just completed to your teacher. Once you're done doing that, you can move on to page 3. Page 3 looks like this. It tells you in each box there are 3 adverbs. Pick one, pick how many? 1, and write a sentence using it. So in the first box, they give you the adverbs quickly, slowly, and loudly. So for example, you might say, I shouted loudly for my mom. Okay. So pick one of those words, whichever one you like the most, and write a sentence using that. Go ahead and press pause and write your sentence for number 1. Okay, your adverbs for number 2 that you can choose from are well, badly, and quietly. Pick one of those adverbs and use it in a sentence. Go ahead. And then number 3, your options, your adverbs are rarely, never, and always. Pick one of those to use in a sentence. When you're done, come on back and join me for our read aloud. Nice work on adverbs today. All right, today our read aloud is called America in 1812 Part 2. So remember, for these read alouds, this is going to be kind of like what you do in Ms. Mason's class. You don't have the story in front of you, so go ahead and sit back, relax, listen, and be ready to answer some questions as I read to you. This is a picture of George Washington, John Adams, and Thomas Jefferson. After the Revolutionary War, each of the first 3 presidents of the United States wanted the United States and Great Britain to be friends again. Even before the Napoleonic Wars began, George Washington had tried to establish a peaceful relationship with the British. Under his leadership, the United States and Great Britain signed a treaty called Jay's Treaty. In this treaty, the British promised not to get involved or interfere with the United States business or activities. During this time, one of the most common ways for 2 countries to maintain a good relationship was to trade with each other. The United States sent flour and tobacco and other goods to Great Britain. Great Britain sent tea and manufactured goods to America. When the Napoleonic Wars began in Europe, France and Britain became enemies. The United States was caught in the middle. The U.S. government really did not want to have to get involved. Merchants in New England relied on trade with Great Britain to run their businesses. France had helped America during the Revolutionary War. The United States wanted to keep that friendship too. However, when U.S. ships, cargo, and sailors were being threatened, especially by the British, the United States could not ignore it. First question, why do you think that the United States wanted to have good relationships with Britain and France? Go ahead and tell me your answer out loud. Good. So as a young nation, they had a small army and navy, so they probably didn't really want to go to war because they were worried that they would lose. Also, they wanted to make sure that they kept trading with both countries, so they didn't want their trading to stop with Britain or France. So they really did not want to get involved in this war at all. Let's keep reading. You might think that what was happening at sea was enough to drive the United States to war with Great Britain. But there were even more problems on American land. Even though Britain had lost the 13 colonies to America, it still had control of land in the northern Great Lakes region and the Northwestern Territories. Britain also controlled part of what is now Canada. The British had forts and outposts along the U.S. and Canadian border. So what areas of land in North America did Britain still control? That's right. They controlled the northern Great Lakes region, the Northwest Territories, and part of what is now Canada. Most Americans during this time were farmers. Many settlers were moving west in search of land to farm. Although the wagons were on American land, the U.S. government began to suspect that the British were interfering with Americans who were settling in the Northern Territories, especially in the Ohio River Valley and the Indiana Territory. They believed that Britain was using its outposts in Canada to help Native Americans who were fighting to defend their land from the settlers. In 1812, what job did most Americans have? That's it. Most Americans were farmers. In 1811, many Native Americans fought to remove settlers from their land in the Battle of Tippecanoe. The Battle of? The U.S. Army fought back. The American soldiers had reason to believe Native Americans received weapons from the British. The British denied it. That means they said that was not true. They insisted that they were only trading with Native Americans, nothing more. So, what did the U.S. government suspect Britain of doing? What did they say they were doing? They were arming the Native Americans. They were giving them weapons. Question 2, last one. Why do you think that Native Americans did not want settlers on their land? Right, they probably were scared that the settlers were going to take their land away from them. So they did not want that. This was their land and they didn't want the settlers to come and take it from them. Nice job today. I'll see you again tomorrow for our next lesson.